Look, I'm by no means the biggest college football fan. I'm more of an NFL guy, and I also like to watch the NBA. But some of these college football schedules are absolutely maddening to look at. And it's added to how insane these are making me. The fact that these teams, not all of them, but probably two or three of them, will complain at the end of the season. We should have been ranked higher. We should be the 1 seed. We should be the 5 seed. We should have made the playoffs, etc., etc. You know for a fact, regardless of what happens, they're going to be complaining. Oh, well, we only have one loss. We should be the 1 seed. Why did we get punished for XYZ? They always complain that they deserve more, and I don't think they do. First team we're going to talk about is the Michigan Wolverines. Ended last season very good, beating Bama. They also beat the Ohio State, which was a massive win, obviously, at the Ohio State. And, yeah, so they should be better this year. They're bringing back most of their guys. They start off the season versus New Mexico. Wow, that's an amazing game. They do play at Oklahoma. Now, that is a real game. That should be an interesting one. 7:30 p.m. ABC. I'll probably try to watch that game. From there on, it is a cakewalk versus Central Michigan, whatever, at Nebraska. Maybe that one is somewhat competitive with Raiola, but, I mean, that's not a real game. Versus Wisconsin at USC. Once again, at USC, maybe could be a competitive game. It'd be at Oklahoma and at USC are the possible two losses, but those teams are both going to be fringe top 25 teams as like 21, 22, 23 are out of the ranking. You got versus Washington, at Michigan State, versus Purdue, at Northwestern, and at Maryland. Now, they obviously have the big game at home this year versus Ohio State. And Ohio State's probably going to be the best team in college football, or one of the best teams. Here's the issue. Michigan is, as of right now, they are projected to make the playoffs. They likely will make the playoffs. But they're going to be in kind of that fringe territory. They're not going to win the Big 12. They're going to have to go based on resume. Most likely, they are going to lose to Ohio State, so that's one loss. And they probably will lose to either Oklahoma, Nebraska, or USC. They will be a two-loss team who will miss the championship game, so they won't get that last game win, revenge versus Ohio State. And they will have wins over, let's say they lose to USC. They'll have wins over Oklahoma, Nebraska, and that's it. And that's it. So they play one great team, three okay to good teams, all of which are on the road, the Oklahoma, Nebraska, and USC game. But they're probably going to be a two-loss team with two okay wins and nothing else to show. And they're going to be demanding to make the playoffs, and it's going to be tough. Wish them luck. Notre Dame. Notre Dame is probably worse, honestly. They also won't join a conference, which makes me even more annoyed. Excuse me. They play their only real game, which they have one more real game at the end of the season, but we'll talk about it when we get to it. At Miami in August. Going to be hot. That's a real game for sure. Miami's a legit team. I think Miami probably will actually win that game. At Miami early in the season. That's a real game. And then they have a bye week. They have a bye week. They have an August bye. Well, I guess it technically September 1st. But anyways, they have a bye week, week 2, versus Texas A&M. That probably will be a decent game, but they're at home. Texas A&M will be okay, but not great. Versus Purdue, at Arkansas, versus Boise State. Boise State could be a game. They got it at home. They lost Genty. I don't think Boise State's going to be all that good this year. NC State, they got USC at home. That should be a real game. As I mentioned with Michigan, USC should be 8-4, 7-5, so that's a real game. At Boston College versus Navy. Navy could be a real game maybe. At Pitt versus Syracuse. I think Syracuse will be decent this year. And at Stanford. I think they have 3 games that are losable. When I say that are losable, every game's losable. But the 3 games that are realistically are going to be within a 7-point spread. At Miami, I think Miami will be favored. Versus Boise, maybe Boise will probably be +7. You could throw in Texas A&M. That is home for Notre Dame, though. Texas A&M will probably be 5-6 point dogs, and then USC will probably also be 5-6 point dogs. But they're going to be favored in every game, maybe except week 1. If they lose week 1 and they win out, they'll have a win over maybe a ranked team, probably Syracuse, maybe Texas A&M, maybe Boise. They're going to have one ranked win. And then they're going to be demanding a playoff spot. Amazing. We got Ole Miss, not Old Miss, who last year demanded a playoff spot, and they didn't get it. They had 3 losses, I believe. Might have been 2. I think it was 3. Here's their schedule. They really want to prove to people that they're worthy of a playoff bid, and they're not going to be undefeated, so they're really trying to show it. Week 1, Georgia State. I've never even heard of Georgia State. At Kentucky, versus Arkansas, versus Tulane. That's easy 4-0. Versus LSU, that is a real game. That could be a playoff determiner. I think LSU will probably beat them, but that's the kind of game that's like you need to win. You'll get the head-to-head. You'll get the main reason why that game is big is for tiebreakers within your conference to maybe get a play in the championship game. But also, there's a very good chance that you and LSU both have 2 losses, and if you win that game, then you generally will get picked over them. So that's a very big game. Washington State after the bye week. Then they got at Georgia. At Georgia, they're not expected to win. They're going to lose that one. At Oklahoma versus South Carolina. I do think South Carolina is going to be a very good team this year. Versus the Citadel. Versus Florida. At Mississippi State. In all honesty, they have maybe 4. You could probably count at Oklahoma as a real game. At Georgia's not even really a real game because they're not winning that. So it's versus LSU versus South Carolina. Probably they'll split one of those. So they'll have, let's say they beat LSU. They have a loss to Georgia, they have a loss to South Carolina, and they win everything else. I mean, should you really make the playoffs when you go 1-2 against ranked teams? The Georgia loss will probably be a blowout. I mean, they could also drop one additional game to, I don't even know who, the Citadel. Absolutely ridiculous. Now, this one might be the worst one. SMU, who barely made the playoffs last year. They open up. They really want to cement themselves as a legit team. East Texas A&M. Amazing. Then they play Baylor. I think Baylor will be better this year. Not really sure that's a big win, but Baylor will probably be better this year. At Missouri State. At TCU. So they're 4-0 going into the bye week. They have Syracuse, Stanford, Clemson, Wake Forest, and Miami. And then Boston College, Louisville, and California. So they have 3 teams that I don't know if Syracuse will be ranked when they play them, and I don't know if they'll finish ranked. Syracuse will be a top 35 team. Clemson, I think, will be a top 5 team, and then Miami will be a top 15 team. So they're going to lose to Clemson, most likely. And then they'll probably drop another to Miami or Syracuse or maybe a different game. But once again, we've got all these teams, and they're going to get a ranked win. Because who else on this schedule is going to get ranked? Maybe Baylor, but if they beat Baylor, then Baylor's not going to be ranked, and Baylor won't be ranked by week 2. I don't see who else can be ranked on this schedule. And Yeah, let's check out, while we're at it, let's check out the Ohio State. So, yeah, the Ohio State, I think this is a reasonable ish schedule. Listen, this would be an average schedule. If I was making these schedules, this would be an average schedule, and I would expect more. But they go versus Texas. I like that to start week 1. Grambling State, Ohio. Okay, I mean those are two useless games. At Washington, okay, versus Michigan. We're getting a little risky. 4 weeks, no real games. At Illinois, that's going to be a real game. At a top 20 team, real game. At Wisconsin, they got versus Penn State. UCLA, Rutgers, Purdue. I mean, none of those teams are super good. At Michigan. So you're going to play 4 top 20 teams. Texas will 100%. Penn State 100%. Michigan 100%. I don't know about Illinois, but probably. You're going to play 4 top 20 teams, 2 which will be on the road. That's pretty solid, especially with Texas and Penn State both being top 5 to start the season. So that is, I would say that's a pretty legit schedule, I might add. And, we can check out Texas, because obviously they're playing Ohio State week 1. So we'll check out how good this... first glance at Texas, it's not great. I'll tell you why. They have Ohio State week 1. Obviously, that's a massive game. 2 of the 5 best teams. Then they got San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston State. Seriously? I mean, what are those 3 games even real? Sam Houston State. Bye week at Florida versus Oklahoma. Those games are both okay. Those are relevant teams. At Kentucky, at Mississippi State versus Vanderbilt. Then they got at Georgia versus Arkansas versus Texas A&M. They got 2 massive games. At Ohio State, at Georgia. I think Georgia and Ohio State are 2 best teams in football, and they're going to be playing on the road both those games. If Texas loses to both of them, which they will be the underdog in both those games, and beats everyone else. What are the real games? They got Texas A&M last week. They got Oklahoma. They probably should win every other game. If they finish the season with 2 losses, they're probably going to make the playoffs with no wins. It's kind of absurd, the scheduling that gets done for some of these teams. And we'll quickly go over a few others. We got Georgia, who's got Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, and Texas. You got a few ones on there. Let's check out Alabama. Shoot. Oh my gosh. So, Alabama, Alabama's got a decent schedule. They got Georgia, they got Florida State week 1, they got Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU. Look, I'm fine with Alabama's schedule. I think that's a perfect schedule. You got Georgia, you got Vandy, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma. That's after the bye week, that's a legit 6-7 week. That's a gauntlet.